Blanco, the Artsy Sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Marduke. We're continuing with chapter 3. We're doing chapter 1, part 3. Alright, so let's get started on this. One of the other hidden mirror doors opened parallel to mine, and quickly closed my door. I waited until the footsteps died away. I then entered the hollow mirrors again. Looking left and right, I tiptoed towards the throne. It was a lot bigger than it appeared from where I sat with my mother. I felt around the lovely carvings on the border. Twisting around the throne, I felt the odd shapes that I could barely see. Cautiously, I sat in the throne. From it, I noticed that the mirrors were slightly tilted. I could see my own reflection multiplied 1,000 times fold. Running towards the main door, I tried to open it. However, I was not strong enough. I waited a bit behind one of the dragon columns. A man who seemed like a giant opened the portal ajar. In the darkness, all I could make out was his huge shape and long cape. He swept across the hall in one motion. Like a shade, he sat in the throne. The shade placed his hands to his face as he breathed a deep sigh. In a fury, he threw his helmet on the floor. It made a hollow clank sound on the ground. Ignoring my presence, the man pushed aside his throne. Behind it lay another mirror door. He pressed around the spot and the door opened. It led into a blackened room. He went within. I walked slowly towards the open door. A cold wind swept beneath it. The ground felt different from the marble floor. I could not see beyond my hand. Using the walls as guidance, I followed after the shade. I could not tell the path I took, for the man used no light. It was as if he had that very path memorized. Eventually the floor felt uneven and rough, like the floor of a cave. The man stopped suddenly. I could see a light at the end of this winding tunnel. The cave roof was hollowed out, allowing for the light to enter. The moonlight shone over the last tower in all its strange, mysterious beauty. The tower was modeled after a beautiful nude maiden. Her long hair decorated the columns and the balance that she held in her hands, like a scale. All around her, more beautiful maidens like herself decorated it. This final tower was truly beautiful. It looked even more wonderful under the pale blue light of the sky bell. Those tiny rock fragments shed its uneven light over the statue's long hair. It almost seemed to shimmer. The tower had 6 star-shaped windows at key locations. Seeing its marvelous form, I felt a cold shiver down my spine. Turning around, I saw the shape behind me. It said in a harsh, cold voice, There you have it. My opus magnum in all its grotesque beauty. Interesting. This looks like a labor of love, said I, bowing to the shade. What brings you here, boy? Asked the shade. I came to save this world, I responded. This made the shade laugh quite heartily. So what is your name, boy? I don't have a name. Only my father can name me, I responded. Really, who made up that stupid rule? Asked the shade, scratching his head. You did, I snapped back. You are the king, are you not? I sometimes forget. At other times, I wish not to remember, said the shade. I went towards the shade and said shyly, Can I name myself? I felt a huge hand over my head. It gently stroked my hair. That huge figure took me between his arms. I started shivering as I felt the cold armor that shielded his beating heart. In a soft voice he said, Sure, boy, call yourself whatever you like. In the darkness, the shade's eyes looked pitch black. Quietly I said, My name will be Marduke. Alright, we're now in chapter 2. How much time?
10 minutes ago.
Alright, we're now starting chapter 2. A berserker's true nature. The first 3 years of my new life passed in a daze. Most of the time I was learning to read and write. Belladonna, the elf elder, insisted on having other children of the city obtain this basic education before they turned 5. Those who failed to learn got a crash course when they joined the army. For many an hour, I spent learning how to scribble basic characters. I mastered reading and writing within the first 6 months. However, much to Belladonna's chagrin, I was still having problems with my pronunciation. Many a times I would stutter. By the second year, Belle, as she preferred to be called, tried a desperate measure. Whenever I would pass by, the people inside the palace were entrusted to point at something or hold up an arrow and say the proper way to pronounce it. Via this method, I was able to master speech by my 5th birthday. By my 5th birthday, my mother had found a new husband. Like my mother, he too was a widow. His wife had died in a battle the week we started living in the palace. Since then, Belle's zealous blade had become dull. Still desiring to make use of him, Bertram made him my mother's bodyguard. In no time, he fell in love with the woman. After performing the mandatory courtship ritual, Mother married us Sailot. Sailot was a good, depressing kind of guy. He had a kind of melancholy way of going about things. Many a time his blue eyes would water. At others he would burst into a self-destructive fury when he thought nobody was watching him. As for Mother, she loved Sailor very much. Unlike her previous husband, he was very attentive. From time to time, my grandmother would visit her whenever she went to converse with King Bertame. Speaking of which, how grandmother came to be related to Bertame is an interesting story in and of itself. According to Belladonna, who claimed to have raised Bertame, he had the habit of calling random people his family. I asked her about it one day during one of my lectures. I always studied in her room that resembled that was also a greenhouse. I remember that I was sitting down in a small wooden desk made to fit my small proportions. Before me, I had paper, ink, and a feather, and that day I wore a long-sleeved linen shirt. It was frilly at the chest and at the end of the sleeve. It was tucked within my short black pants. As usual, I was barefoot. I was still not accustomed to wearing shoes, so I took them off whenever Mother was not looking. Belle did not mind much, for she too hated shoes. That day she wore rose fashion from nature. During her lecture, she was always of the habit of braiding her hair and decorating it with flowers from her garden. That day, I popped the question. Well, how is Bertram related to Grandma? Said I in my usual silly kind of way. Why do you want to know? Asked Belle. As usual, she was sitting by the flower field, picking the ones she liked best. Fine, I'll tell you. Put your ink and quill and parchment away. I opened the desk and placed it within. Belle gestured to me to sit beside her. And then she said, for as long as I can remember, Bertram was always curious about his past. Like you, he was an orphan. His body bore the traits of many of our races. I thought she was unwanted by all. You had seen it, but you had seen him yourself. He has the ears of a the ears of the elf, the bulkiness of a dwarf. At 12 feet tall, he is almost a giant, but not giant enough for them. And his eyes are like those of the nymphs. They change color depending on his mood. His short hair is also an unnatural blood red. If that does not make him stand out enough, he displays abilities that make him akin to the mermaid. This feeling of abandonment made him clingy to whoever would accept him as his family. And I was the first one who took him in 200 years ago. As such, he calls me Mother. When I first saw him, get to the point, I responded pretending to fall asleep. Belle laughing said, you're a horrible child. Oh yeah, what time is?
5 minutes.
Long story short, one day Madame de Afelon's estate was being raided by bandits or pirates, I forget. When they finally captured her, Madeline told them that she was a distant cousin of Bertame, and if they harmed a hair on her head, Bertame would bring down upon them the fury of the berserkers. Not only this made the pirates alive, much to their chagrin, Sailor was among them for some stupid reason. So while the men drank and ate at the Afelon's expense, Sailor made his way to the capital, and he informed Bertame that the bandits were about to slaughter one of his distant relatives. Bertame, in a fury, entered there and single-handedly butchered the bandit, and since then, Madame d'Afelon has been considered a distant relative of Bertame. wasn't that a lie? Yes, but at the same time, both wished desperately for that lie to be true. Thus, Madeline's stand and honor was saved, and Berthamet obtained his first blood relation. Yay, don't we all love happy endings? After this conversation, I allowed myself to drift into sleep as Belladonna sang one of her elven songs. While I slept, I thought much of my blood relations. Was blood really so important? That day, I once again dreamt of my siblings. We were all together under the shattered white moonlight. We each took a knife and sliced open our wrists. We allowed our blood to blend on the forest ground, and as we bled, I felt my blood begin to change. Theirs too seemed a different shade of red. Our blood no longer blended, and once again I felt that we were drifting apart, and I had been in this form longer than I had planned. If I do not find Libra soon, I fear that I will forget myself and my people. When I awoke in the rosy garden, I felt my wrist hurting a lot. Staring at it, I saw that nothing was wrong with it. The next day, I was summoned to the Hall of Mirror. The elders, Rudy, my mother, my stepfather, and Bersamet were all assembled. The elders sat in their usual cushions. Bersamet sat in the throne, wearing a black and golden decorative armor with a blue mantle. Before them, there was an empty chair designated for me. Looking sternly at me, my stepfather said, "Today we will conduct a simple test. We will say something and you will tell us if the statement is true or false. Do you understand?" "True." And then the mother said, "Good boy." Belladonna responded, "False." This exchange made me giggle. As for my mother, her face turned crimson. However, she checked her temper by closing her fist tightly. Time?
3 minutes.
The first elder, a portly fellow named Pug, said, "I am a woman trapped in a man's body." True. The second elder, a skinny gray-haired dwarf named Sippy, said, "I became LaRoche's pet jester against my will." False. The statements went on as such, and each statement was more bizarre than the last. When it came for Belladonna's turn, she said, "I left my open tribe because of the bags under my eyes." True. My stepfather said, "My wife was with child when she followed me to battle." True. My mother said, "I did not murder my ex-husband." And then I said, "False." After hearing this, mother left the audience hall in tears. I wanted to follow after her, but my stepfather forbade me from leaving my seat. Afterwards, he left the room chasing after his wife. I still needed to hear Bersamet's question. He sat a moment before saying, "I was born." False. Giving a sigh of relief, Bersamet rose and shook my small hand. "Thank you for clearing that little mystery. Congratulations, you passed. For now you are excused from your lectures. You may do as you please." Gesturing to Bersamet to get closer, I whispered into his ear, "Why won't Mother admit it?" Rising up, Bersamet said, "It's hard for her to come to terms with her true nature. Once she accepts what she truly is, she will become a better person for it. Just not facing reality is going to cause her problems in the future." Belladonna added, "I worry about her. She has the bad habit of bothering it all up. You saw what she did to Sarah when she thought he was cheating on her." "Marduke, you should be very wary of that mother of yours. She is of a very whimsical nature," said Bersamet before leaving. "This event left me thinking a lot about my mother. It angered me that they spoke so plainly the truth that I knew myself." Alright, so we'll continue this in a jiffy. Bye bye and God bless.